you also leverage, God gave us 4 inputs, 1 output. So I try to use them proportionately. So just always keeping that in mind. I'm looking to receive more than I give out as far as my opinion. Therefore, I'm always trying to take more information in. If I fix it for this one organization, is it something that applies to all folks that are in that industry on the entire North America or even the planet? If I get a few yeses with over 50 businesses in my wake, I've been known to go and start a business to resolve that friction and start turning into money.
But you're just like, no, if you just stop doing this and this will happen instead. And so that's where that just at a zero, that could be in the front or the back. And
or the back.
In this case, because he's a simplifier, he'll help you create systems that you didn't even realize were there that takes out, 10 other systems. So one system that replaces 10 is one of your superpowers.
I'm not sure how many net new organizations I'm going to be the 100% owner of. So I've elevated to a place where now I don't have to do it that particular way. And I literally can leverage my unique ability in helping people grow all around the world. So collaboration for me is the way.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Unreasonable Health. And today I've got my friend Chad Jenkins on. And you guys are going to love this because if there's a definition of creative entrepreneur in the dictionary, you'll find Chad's name next to it, because not only does he see the invisible connections between all things business, but he also sees the invisible capabilities that a lot of us carry around that we don't see ourselves. And when I first met with Chad at Strategic Coach at FreeZone, beautiful thing Chad did is he was like, well, let me take a look at your business. And he just started telling me all these small little changes to make that would create a better experience for my clients and an easier time for us. And he did it in a matter of just minutes. And so I'm excited to talk to him about his new book today, which is Just Add a Zero, and about what he's doing to make collaborations an entire new industry, a free zone frontier, to use Dan Sullivan's terminology. But Chad, welcome to the show.
Reagan, thank you very much for having me. I'm looking very forward to it.
This is going to be fun. So you are an inventor and wanderer. According to
right.
the working genius.
yeah, exactly. It's funny. I've been able to, over the last few years, the inventor comes first always. So I do come up with the solution. You mentioned earlier, I'm just able to see stuff. I know that now after a lot of work and trying to find my unique ability and partner with the folks at Strategic Coach to be able to find it. But the wonder, asking the big questions, I actually refrain from giving the solution now. And it's been empowering, this working genius. And I leverage the wonder part first. So asking the big questions, say, what if, and what could it look like if? And then, even though I've already come up with a solution, I try to refrain from sharing it. So it's very good. Love the working genius, right? It's one of the studies. So I can sit down with someone, and I would dare say in a matter of 5 to 7 minutes, and no one can see this, but above my door, I had a custom sign made that says, "What did I leave out?" Because I normally see it, and I don't verbalize. I don't use all the words to describe it. But with Working Genius, even I can sit down with someone and describe what it is and how one would get a lot of value from it. And I feel like I'm a huge Colby print culture, preventative, SDI 2.0. Like all of these different surveys give you a view of your dimension, or a view of yourself from a different dimension, which I absolutely love. Working Genius, I feel like, is one that you could get the summary of it and put it in place later on that day and start getting value from it. So not only has it empowered me with the IW and just the way that I've been able to correctly do them WI to provide a lot more value, but being able to just use that for teams is hugely impactful of all sizes, in my experience.
Well, and once again, this goes to your ability to be continually open-minded and creative. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs like you who become successful, they go into the zone where they know everything. Mm-hmm. And you're always like, well, what don't I know? And that's the beautiful thing about you. And so how do you keep that mindset? What's your secret?
Driven by relentless curiosity is first and foremost. I think some of my upbringing certainly helps. So I grew up around my father, spent an absorbent amount of time with him, which means I spent a ton of time with folks who were my senior by 20 or 30 years. Therefore, if you're a kid and you really don't know anything, you also leverage. God gave us four inputs, one output. So I try to use them proportionately. So just
Hmm.
always keeping that in mind. I'm looking to receive more than I give out as far as my opinion. Therefore, I'm always trying to take more information in. I am a 7383 on Colby. Therefore,
Okay.
I'm going to move the second that I see something, I'm going to take action, but I'm always leveraging that fact finder to get more information so that I make better decisions. With that three implementer, I'm constantly adapting. So for organizations that I own, it may look like I change quite rapidly. And really, in my world, I would be evolving because I have better information that I can base a much better decision upon. So the curiosity is at the foundation of it all. And then also the other second component of it, which is equally to sometimes, if not more important, every day that I'm given, I view as a bonus. And in viewing that
Mhm.
it is a bonus day, and I have this conversation with my two young daughters, every day that's given to you, when you first become awake in the morning or conscious, one thing that comes to mind is how am I going to create more value today for those that I serve than the value that I created yesterday? So to do that, you have to have a much more open mind and be looking at different ways to combine things to create higher value. So a great question though.
And you said there's four inputs and one output.
Two eyeballs, two ears,
Oh God. Okay,
one
cool.
mouth. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wanted to make
That's what
sure
I
I
meant.
understood that.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm constantly looking and most
Okay.
importantly, listening. And sometimes it's not listening to the exact words, but listening for the intent of the meaning of the words that are actually not being spoken. That's a big
Mm,
one for me. So dig a little bit deeper beneath the surface. Um, you mentioned earlier, I've worked a lot in trying to understand the art of collaboration to the extent I've now defined what I feel like is a very approachable definition. And for collaboration, it means to me unique value creation resulting from the natural attraction. So it's not something that you have to create, it's naturally attracted
yeah.
of authentically expressed people, places, and things. So I think that gets at the heart of the behavior and or the mindset that you're asking me the questions around. And it is, I have to get to the authentically expressed understanding of a person, place, or thing. And I've always done that from back. I can track it to the age of 8. I didn't think I had
Wow.
anything at my fingertips to create value. As it turns out, I had a lot. I had a landscape company that was sitting there waiting for me, but I didn't know that being on a farm. So when I dug deeper, just a little bit deeper, and say, really, what do I have as far as resources? It empowered me to see them a little differently. So the natural curiosity and trying to get just to the root of something, not the label that's printed on the outside of the jar. What's inside, and how
Wow.
could it be used to create more value?
And I think that's where your just insatiable curiosity
Mhm.
is key for that because if you're not curious, you're going to be like, I don't really care what's inside.
Mm-mm. No, no, not at all. They said it's so X, and it turns out that you can use the X for exactly what it's being sold for. You can use the X, or let's say your finance department inside of your organization for exactly doing the books. That's a lot of horsepower that could actually be turned into income generating in certain aspects. And most people don't try to look at those things that particular way. They just take the conventions. And I'll never be chastised as a Me Too guy.
I was talking to Lee Brower, he's
Hmm.
a coach and strategic coach, and he
Yes.
said where there's friction, there's opportunity.
Hmm.
And that's what you look at. You're like, well, my time's kind of maxed out here, but I know this company that can do that. And I guess that's kind of the birth of Seed Spark is you
Yes.
saw friction in different areas.
Hmm.
And maybe talk about that. And I especially like the origin of the name Seed Spark.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. So, Seed Spark specifically, the name came from seed the idea. And it's great to have all of these theories of growth and capabilities that could actually become something. But Spark is actually spark the growth. So I am very passionate about seeing things differently and being able to empower other businesses to grow exponentially. So that creates a lot of ideas and thoughts that they could actually go and put into place. But what I found, and the reason I named the company that, is they also need somebody to walk along beside them. So my
Mm,
growth collaboration partners is the vehicle in which we serve others, all partnered on future money. So no cost today. All that money's already been spoken for. Uh, but it foundationally goes back to seed and spark, is seed the idea and also hang around, not just a great consultant with a very expensive PowerPoint, spark the
right.
growth as well. So walk along beside them. Yeah.
Yeah.
You talk about friction, and it also names it in this book. So a long time ago, this is many businesses ago, what I found is it was a lot easier to leverage what everybody was running away from as a business model because you had a lot of built-in clients. So how would you do that? And I coined this phrase, remove the film. So it's
Mm.
interesting you talk about friction because remove the film. The word film for me stands for friction identification, leverage the market. So
Oh,
I'm
wow.
so glad that those letters worked out. Yeah. So I look literally for friction, and it's real easy. On the way into work this morning, a couple of us received telephone calls, and one would argue that they were complaints. You could also look at them from a little different perspective, and those are nuggets of gold. Because
Mm.
if you start to hear the friction, i.e., sometimes
Yep.
mass is the complaint, with enough consistency, it makes me ask a few questions. If I resolve this for one of the organizations I own or one that I'm serving and helping them grow, is it just going to help that organization? Or is it going to help organizations that look like that one or in that local market or potentially in the entire industry? Or if I fix it for this one organization, is it something that applies to all folks that are in that industry on the entire North America or even the planet? If I get a few yeses with over 50 businesses in my wake, um, I've been known to go and start a business to resolve that friction and start turning into money.
Man. Well, and I think that's one of the beautiful things you do are you a multiplier then on the simplifier multiplier? You're a simplifier,
I'm absolutely a simplifier. Yes, sir.
but
You
you
can have a very
simplify
complex,
for multiple because you're like, well, why don't
absolutely.
I solve one problem that can help 1,000 businesses instead of solving it in unique ways for 1,000 businesses? That's a perfect simplifier
Yeah.
right there.
I
Got
struggle
it.
with that at the very beginning because there's been, and they do tell you this after you peel back the onion a little bit, that you
Yep.
are both, but you are primarily one. By
Yeah.
far, I am a simplifier, by far.
That,
How can
that
I create the same outcome with less effort or create exponential more outcome for less effort? I'm simplifying all the time. So I
yeah.
love and seek out multipliers because if you get a multiplier and apply them to me, oh, some fun things are about to happen.
That spark becomes a forest fire pretty fast.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
That's
I
great.
love those
I'm
guys.
the same way. Dan was when he first had the concept. Him and Babs were in the office,
Hmm.
and Dan starts asking me about different peptides that I'm working on, and all of a sudden he looks at me. He's like, "You're a simplifier." I'm like, "I am,"
Hmm.
because I was asking like, "I don't know if I'm a simplifier," and he's like,
Yeah.
"You're definitely a simplifier."
Yep.
And I'm like, "Yeah, but then I got all these things that I'm working." He's like, "No, no, no. You're trying to simplify
Simplify,
health."
simplify, simplify, simplify. You're just
Yeah,
doing it over and over and over. Yeah, it
over and
makes
over
good sense.
again.
Yeah, I would agree. The time that we've known each other, I've seen you do it countless times, and every time you do it, you create so much value for the hero target. We'll continue to use some of their language that you're
Yep.
serving, but I would agree with him. You definitely are simplifying it, which is wonderful, especially for folks that operate at sort of the frequency that I do. That work that we do together has been very empowering to me. It you're simplifying it so that I'm able to multiply those unique capabilities I have and impact many others. So thanks for being who you are.
Oh, you got it. Pleasure to work with you. And so let's talk about just add a zero because
Yeah.
even the title of your book, Remove the Film, and that's
Mhm.
the find friction identification
Leverage the
um,
market.
to leverage the market. Yeah, I
Correct.
love that. But find the
Yeah.
film, outperform your competition, and grow exponentially through collaboration. What does just add a zero mean?
So just at a zero, I feel like and I mentioned the word empower. I feel like it empowers many different businesses, all shapes and sizes, even individuals, Because when you look at something and you're tracking it or it's producing a certain outcome, and man, you'd really like for it to be better, or, ooh, we got way too many salespeople. Add a zero. You could add it to the
Mm,
front, and it's just the simplest methodology that creates a shift in your mindset, and you can just apply it over and over and over. So for me, and as I mentioned, that is actually the one that started when I was 8 years old. I figured out within a rough order of magnitude what my father made annually, and my mind works in a way just to break it down to sizable chunks in which I can understand. So I did the reverse math all the way down to the second, which thank goodness I wasn't near as a scary or overwhelming number, and I added a zero to it, just reactive, just add a zero to it. Well, then it continued to get more and more scary when I did the real world math to come back to what it would be annually. But I said, good Lord, how in the world am I ever going to create value like that? Somebody's going to pay me. And then I figured
yeah.
out that I was going to have to create that value. So the just add a zero model and methodology I've used it this morning, helping other business owners just to look at something from a little different perspective, whether you want it to get exponentially bigger, or in my example of, we might have a few too many salespeople. Great. What if we put a zero at the front of that? And instead of 10, we went down to one. How are we going to create
Mm,
this amount of revenue with one
yeah.
salesperson? And just start writing down ideas. And like, oh, we can never do that. There's another piece that I'm working on for the next book, and it's the power of unless. And that was
Mm,
what I just read off was an example of it, right? So in my hypothetical example, you take the zero and add it to the front. Instead of 10 salespeople, I need one. What the heck am
yeah.
I going to do? There's
Yep.
no way we could ever do that unless, and to just start drafting all the things that would have to be true for you to be
Mm,
able to have one salesperson and create even exponentially more revenue than you are with the 10 salespeople that you really think six of them are kind of cutting the mustard and four of them are not. The just add a zero methodology challenges you to think differently. So the remove the film is a way, right? Friction identification, leverage market. It uses screaming, use the four inputs and one output proportionately. But the folks are giving you, and you've heard this before, if you listen to your clients, they'll tell you exactly what they want to buy.
mm,
But we don't do that, right? You show up, show them the chart in some examples. I'm joking and picking on life insurance guys that bring out, you're going to have
sure.
a bajillion dollars. And so we're always in many instances trying to move a product, or you've gotten tied up in drinking your own Kool-Aid on how great your product or services are. When if you just listen to them, you'll hear the complaints, start
Yep.
asking the questions that I alluded to earlier. If I resolve this just help this one client. Does that help all the clients? Are all my clients dealing with this? And whenever you begin to get yes, 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 you got two options. One, you literally have listened to the people that you're serving that are putting food on your table, and they've told you how to create competitive advantage, not just for your relationship with them to maintain that recurring relationship that you have, a residual relationship, but also to potentially help all your clients and to remove yourself from competition of the others that are in your space. It's the whole right there.
Man. Well, and I think working with you and your team, for those of you who haven't had the chance, it's refreshing because there's always an easier way. And most people, you meet with them and you almost get that pit in your stomach where it's like, how much work is is this going to require? Like,
Yes.
I really want to work with this company, but man, it's going to be, we're going to have to change everything. But you're
Mhm.
just like, no, if you just stop doing this and this will happen instead. And so that's
Mhm.
where that just at a zero, that could be in the front or the back.
Or
And
the
in
back.
Pat's case, because
Yeah.
he's a simplifier, he'll help you create systems that you didn't even realize were there that takes out, 10 other systems. So
I
one
would,
system that replaces 10 is one of your superpowers.
yeah, it's definitely a way. I would dare say more than 95% of the organizations that I now help across the planet, they have everything that they need at their fingertips. So there's an awesome book that is named Obstacle is the Way. I'm sure a lot of the
Yeah,
listeners
Ryan
have read
Holiday.
it.
Yeah.
So for me, obstacle is the way, and the way through it's via collaboration. That's the way
Mm.
through it.
So
So
let's talk about what makes a good collaboration because you have Chad at Freezone. He was up there and he created a tool for strategic coach.
Yes, sir.
You and I are the only ones that I know of that have where we've got a tool that's snuck in and Dan's used it. But
Into the repertoire. Yeah.
yeah, so
Uh,
but what is your definition of collaboration before we jump in?
yeah. So the definition of collaboration, because I do leave things out, I want to reference it. So collaboration for me is the unique value creation resulting from the natural attraction of authentically expressed people, places, and things. So you
Yep.
start at the end. So what that really means to me is digging deeper on all the resources that a business has at its immediate fingertips. And that could be groups of people in a department. It could be warehouse space. It could be trucks on the road that are being used for something. And then I may figure out that the route that they're traveling, you could add a bolt-on product and take care of all your logistics expense. So
Hmm.
until I dig deeper to understand the capabilities that are at someone's fingertips, not we need to go buy this, we need to invest in that building, we need to go hire this sales guy. No, no, no. Leveraging collaboration, you likely have everything that you need if you just look at it from a different perspective. So that's the definition for collaboration for me
Yep.
that I've used over and over and over, even as I mentioned back at 8 years old, and then many times after that, saying, what really do I have at my fingertips? And yeah, we might call it that, but if you just message a little bit differently or package it a little bit differently, here's a great one. I deal with an immense amount of project based businesses, and they've been
Mm.
hustling for a long time. They've got some referral programs and things of that nature that they tried to implement it. And it's been moderately successful. There's a whole methodology on how to make that work as well, that we will not get into now. But those particular organizations leveraging what they have at their fingertips and an example, massaging that to be offered as a subscription or as a recurring service, something that's going to really provide a much higher level of value to an end user proactively, not reactively. So I don't want to wait for them to call me. I want to be engaged in a relationship where next month I'm going to create value. Next month I'm going to create value. And that is the delivery of the product or service. Having that type of impact to a traditionally project based business, two times, maybe three, their enterprise value. And you could do it over, I've done it as fast as a 12 or 18-month runways, completely transformed the organization. And of course, if I can
Wow.
have something that's three times worth the amount of money, and I've been working for 20 years building this business, and you're saying in less than 2 years, I get three times my enterprise value, those are so rewarding and a lot of fun to find.
Yeah. So right now you've got, I know in Coach we're always joking. We're like, what's your other, how many businesses now, Chad? Because Chad's
Yeah.
like the king of like business ownership. I think it was like 33, but where are you at now? I heard you mention it. You threw out a number 50 before
Yeah, so
earlier in our.
in writing this book, of course, they ask you tons and tons of questions. Well, how many companies have you actually owned? And it was extremely easy just to look in files and backtrack over a couple of things that have happened recently, and it was plus 50. At the
Wow.
beginning of this year, I had been working on a mergers acquisition group and then collaboration as a complete model as a business. So those two things launched on January the 1st. But I would dare say at the end of first quarter last year, between there and the end of second quarter, some things really started happening. I'm very keenly aware of the value I can create for someone, growth innovation through collaboration. As well, I have had all these organizations and I work really hard. I'm so fortunate to have leadership teams that run the day to day in all of my operating companies. I can't say enough about how wonderful they are. It enables me to do what it is that I can do, both for them and for people around the world. But I came up with this particular saying and it throttled me. So the saying is nothing new without a who. And I
Mhm.
have to continuously tell myself that. So, yes, I have ideas limitless on value creation. And if I get tied up and remove the film, I start getting a lot of yeses. My old MO is go create an organization. And then I
Yeah.
continue to chisel and chisel. And I said, hold up. So at Freezone, they teach us about collaboration. And I went way down the rabbit hole of how to operationalize collaboration ultimately as a business model, which is what I do now. But
Yep.
if you combine collaboration as a theory that is, you can make it practically applicable as well, nothing new without a who, it seemed very logical to me. Why don't I just do this for people who already have a bank account, a website, a merchant account, maybe a sales team, maybe a logistics crew out in the field that are delivering products and services. So those two things have elevated me or evolved me to now I only work through collaboration where I help others around the globe grow their organization and we partner on future money. So I don't know how many to that full extent. I'm not sure how many net new organizations I'm going to be the 100% owner of. So I've elevated to a place where now I don't have to do it that particular way. And I literally can leverage my unique ability in helping people grow all around the world. So collaboration for me is the way.
Man, I love that. And what do you find rewarding about collaboration?
So I would say the most rewarding thing that I find is when I engage with someone and not say they truly are that guy who feels like a hamster running on a wheel, right? Every
Yeah.
time you take a step, here comes the wheel. And after sometimes even one conversation, if I'm able to pull out enough facts about their resources and about their business and their position in the market, and they find out with just a few small tweaks, they can also see the, so of course I have the vision, but they're also able to see. So it's reachable enough. They can reach out and touch it. It's like a completely different way of existing in their business that begins to give them and return to them all the value that they put the blood, sweat, and tears in for all these years. So that is whenever they can see, and you can see it in their eyes too, when you share a couple of things that they might consider to help their business begin to grow exponentially, remove their competition, and be an industry of one, when they begin to see that vision, as I mentioned, sometimes in the first meeting, oh, it's very rewarding to me. Yeah. Now the outcome is rewarding as well, right? So it's very rewarding for both parties. But the
Right.
real reward for me that really gets my juices flowing is when I can see them also be able to reach out and touch that vision as well. They can see a
Man.
path to a better tomorrow.
Well, yeah, because sometimes, not seeing the forest through the trees, right, is we all get stuck in our own processes and our
Hmm.
own systems. And when somebody who's creative can look inside the box and say, hey, just rearrange it this way and
Yeah,
everything will
just
work.
really. Yeah,
Just move the
exactly.
furniture. You don't need new furniture. You just need to move it. And
Just tweak it a little bit. Yep, you're
yeah,
exactly right. Very
it's
rewarding.
it, it's a real gift. And so if you look at when in business or like when's a project that failed or a business that just or a collaboration that didn't work for you, what are some things that
Oh
people can
yeah.
be on the lookout for?
Yeah, that's a great one. So it's studying the art of collaboration. So I love Dan Sullivan's rules. Your money is your money. My money is my money. It's
Hmm.
at the foundation, and even my definition kind of outlines that. When that is not true, that's not a collaboration. Maybe you guys are good gentlemen's agreement. You're going to pass the business back and forth. Maybe this is a partnership, right? Because to come together, somebody's paying for something and we're going to split the money this way that's not true collaboration. So I see that often because even for me early on, when I really began to embrace the concept, I tried to break it as much as I tried to make it work. And I would find, just I mentioned natural curiosity, I would look across the whole globe and say, where are collaborations happening? So you've got an example, Tiffany's and Nike's, right? So Nike's shoe, and make some expensive shoes, of course. And then Tiffany's, they make everything expensive. At least every time my daughters have a birthday, anniversary, or etc., it seems that way. But whenever you look at those particular brands and the demographics that they serve, neither one could have effectively done what the other has done with each other. So it takes Nike and their brand and their positioning and their global positioning, as well as Tiffany's, to come together and build this particular sneaker to which they both benefit. But if you're engaging in a way in which you have to get paid, or we're going to split this money X, and that's not a true collaboration. You have to be really, really careful of that because, as I mentioned, for me, obstacle is the way,
Yeah.
and collaboration is the way through it. I don't find a lot of businesses in today's world that are leveraging that with intentionality. I see a lot of businesses that are in collaboration. An example, you and I are in collaboration right now with Strategic Coach. So it's a great example.
Yeah.
I'm a big VCR method guy. So Dean Jackson is the guy who
All right.
created VCR vision, capability, and reach being three very strong components for success. So in collaboration with Strategic Coach, both of us are for vision. right? So us plus them creates the outcome that we bring back to our organizations to empower the people that work with us
Mhm.
and fuel the delivery of value to our hero target. Without it,
Yeah.
it's not the same. So
Yeah.
making sure that we're very focused on collaboration as because I would tell you guys, you don't have to go borrow money for collaborations. As I mentioned
No.
earlier, today's money in all of our organizations is already spoken for, whether it's cost of goods, employee payroll, 401k, fill in the blank. Maybe it's a boat, maybe you're saving for something, but every dollar in your organization is already committed. So future money is a whole lot easier to share, right? So
Right.
if you're facing a big obstacle, you might consider first, you're welcome to go get financing and bring on an equity or a capital partner, but you might consider collaboration where both parties come together on the outcome. And when the outcome happens, we know exactly how we're going to split this thing up. So be real careful of that, but also leverage the crap out of it.
Because I think where collaborations go wrong is where, people want what they want up front, and they're like, "Hey, we're not." It instead of a results-based economy, they go time and effort, and it's like, well, this is an
It's,
entrepreneur endeavor. It's not. It's like,
that's correct. It's very interesting. I just left a lunch with a marketing firm. We handle their IT and cybersecurity and process automation, my software company. Right, Reagan out there, so it's like close to 20 years now. There's just an excellent client, and they do an immense amount of work, and we've done quite a bit for Coca-Cola. I understand that Coca-Cola is moving to for its marketing because it deals with, imagine the size of you at Coca-Cola, you deal with a total crazy number of marketing firms that do all
yeah.
kinds of different things. They're moving starting this summer to performance.
Oh, beautiful.
Huge,
Wow.
huge. Yeah.
Wow.
So in marketing, I feel like is that's one industry that if they could figure out how to create the outcome and then get paid, which I own a marketing firm, and that is one way that we're engaging. I'm trying my very best to perfect the model, and then I'm going to wrap out intellectual property around it and try to help the people that are in marketing. But moving to that model, which is, of course, as you mentioned, way more entrepreneurially based and focused, everybody wins. Let's just
Yeah.
create the outcome.
Yeah,
Just,
that's
yeah.
brilliant. Like my favorite marketing strategy is Red Bull because I love watching the like mountain biking, crazy
Oh yes.
downhill stuff and the snowboarders and skiers. And yeah, they have Red Bull on their helmet, but I'm not like getting spammed for Red Bull. I just get
Yeah.
value out of their out of what they've done,
Yep.
and people pay to go to the event. So
Yes.
I'm hopefully Coca-Cola will do something like that. I mean, and maybe they just actually make a healthy product. That would be
Yes, yes, yes. That's very interesting. They have a new one coming out called Spice. Don't know exactly what that's about, but they're always launching so many. I had no idea that they also own Topo Chico, which is a nice sparkling water.
Oh, I love
And
Topo Chico. I had no
yeah,
idea Coco in that.
they actually own it. Yeah, sure enough, they own so many different brands. But you're right. Anything that's performance based, outcome based. I figured out a long time ago. Wealthy people don't trade time for money. So if you're in an industry that's trading time for money, and I deal with quite a few law firms, quite a few,
Oh
and that's a
yeah,
real struggle because that is the convention, right? I'm going
it
to
is.
spend a little time on this, and then I'm going to have a bunch of paralegals spend a little time, and you're going to get a big old bill with a lot of words on it. I don't like big bills with a lot of words on it. I like outcomes, and
Yep.
I'm delighted to if we can use both of our brains to understand what success looks like and understand what success is going to be like monetarily, and let's just back into the percentage that we both take on. If you're
Yeah.
worth, here's one thing, and I won't get too much on a diatribe, but this is a very simple and easy way, something I'd like for everyone to consider because I feel like it is also another place of empowerment. Whenever you work with somebody who can truly create the outcome, but the convention is we get three proposals. So let me get this right. I've been doing this for a very long time, and I have plenty of experience showing that what you're trying to accomplish, I have the ability to go at least hit your mark and potentially go well beyond. But we're going to use the convention and write some words on a page, probably some bullet points, maybe in a PowerPoint, and then we're going to put a dollar figure at the end of it. Well, what happens day 2, day 3, day 33, day 63 in the endeavor of this creation of value? Well, I may have some better ideas, but the better ideas cause more work, but it's going to create a bigger outcome for those that you're serving. But I'm not going to get any upside on that What I'm going to do is be held to those bullet points, to the T's
Mm,
and C's on that proposal. And therefore,
yeah.
you don't get the secret sauce that is in that service provider, that partner, or the collaboration partner. You don't get the upside of all those years of experience because you took the convention and get it written down in a proposal. You can hold them to the proposal. That's great. And for the fee, as long as they do what's in the proposal, independent of the outcome, you're going to write the check. It just seems like that's not the best way to do business. So
Mm,
hopefully that helps somebody who's listening today to tweak an engagement and come up with a much bigger outcome that everybody wins, which is ultimately
yeah.
that's what I want. I want everyone to win all the time.
Yeah, and my print is I'm a 7/8, so
Oh yeah.
I want, at the end of the day, I just want to enjoy life and be happy, and, and so
Strong
this
and
seems like a
self-reliant.
much funner way of doing things and
Yes,
much
sir.
more enjoyable,
Yeah.
which
I'll
is
tell you, Reagan, if you're able to understand the impact that you have on somebody's health and extrapolate that to the impact of their all the financial that they're going to have with insurance and outcome and the even the income potential upside that when they feel better and they operate better and they impact other people better, what the ripple effect on that for a business is, whoo. If you can get some percentage, well, I should back myself into a corner. If you can get some percentage on the performance impact there, you won't need near as many people to help to have the
well,
same amount of outcome.
that's a fascinating concept because how does health, I mean, what's it been like for you? I mean, I one of my mantras is when health improves, everything improves,
100%.
and so, but what have you seen in people, entrepreneurs who you work with who let their health go down, or what have you noticed in your own life as because you're always continually improving your health as well.
Yeah. So the opposite side of the coin. So we'll go negative before we go positive.
Inversion. Yep.
Yeah, the negative portion is right. So you slow down, your world gets smaller, your relationships are not properly attended to because and again, I truly feel like your world begins to get smaller. You get really tunnel vision. Boy, if I just continue doing what it is that I know how to do, that I've been doing for all these years and focus on it, I'll make more money or keep the money and I'll just keep doing it because it feels comfortable. But then all those relationships go bye-bye. Your health goes bye-bye. And I believe it creates the spiral downwards. To yes, your bank account might show better until you cut it in half. And we've all seen that happen a few times, even this week, and it's Monday. I hear story after story, especially, and it's probably at our age. So we're both getting to a place where the guys have been hustling for a minute, and for the ones that have done quite well, they're in a good spot. Uh,
Yep.
but then life catches up with you if you're not. You mentioned Lee Brower earlier, and I've read the Brower quadrant years and years ago. All four tires need to be properly inflated. If not, we're going to end up in the ditch. So health is one of those tires.
Yeah.
Relationships is another. Spirituality for me is another. Making
Mm,
sure that we have each one of these properly inflated and they're never exact. So each one takes work and we got to check on them. Now, the opposite side of the equation is when you do focus on it, engage with someone specifically like you who is, and what I can, and I'll toot your horn just a little bit, but the intentionality that you put around customizing and meeting the person where they are on their health journey and super impactful. So kudos to you for doing that. But whenever they do take it serious and engage with you, uh, they begin to see those towers inflate. And as you mentioned, when health gets better, everything begins to benefit from it. The relation you have more time, right? You're not in your head having, and I understand now that we have 65 to 90,000 thoughts every day. Most of
right.
those thoughts are the same thoughts that we thought about yesterday. So
Yep.
before too long, those thoughts that you thought about yesterday, that you think about today, that you're going to think about tomorrow becomes reality of the next day.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about getting healthy and you think about it every day, but you're not taking action to find someone like you and begin on the programs that you have begins to properly inflate those tires all kind of at the same time or a short latency between them and the whole car begins to lift up to the proper height and run very smooth. So I witnessed it personally, so thank you. But I've also witnessed it with countless other entrepreneurs that you're engaged with who I knew before and now I know
Yep.
after, and just a difference of night and day. And I can speak specifically from my personal experience. So thank you.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure. That's why I exist. I love that. Just like you love collaborations, I love
Mhm.
seeing people improve their health, but I do enjoy working with entrepreneurs, which is why that's exclusively who I work with because
Yes,
you guys are doing crazy things in the world, and you need someone knocking on the door saying, "Hey, did you think about this when it comes to your health?" Because if that thing goes away, you're not going to add any value. I mean, you're
it's true. What is it? We
it,
want, we have 1,000 wants when we have our health. When we don't
yeah,
have our health, we have one. That's it. This one.
that's it. Yeah,
So,
I think
yeah.
one of the biggest tragedies is Steve Jobs. I mean, such a inspiring human and so creative and so innovative. And
Mhm.
he just was neglectful. I mean, died, I think it's 57, liver cancer.
That's
Could have been
incredible.
so easily prevented, but yeah, I mean, I love seeing that. So if you look at everything that you've got going on now, what are you
Mhm.
most excited about?
I know it's going to come as a real big surprise. It's actually collaborations. It's helping others see how. Tell me your biggest obstacle that you have in your business in 2 seconds. Maybe not very more than two. I'm going to ask a few questions, especially this first time we met. But I feel very confident I'll be able to share with you three potential options leveraging collaboration that can create not just the other side of the obstacle that you're thinking about, but way on the other side. And it's just, as I mentioned, it's just an art form in business that hasn't been considered. I think very similar to globalization. And I'm a big Peter Zion fan, but
Yeah.
globalization after World War II, everybody went this way. Now, of course, as we know, we're coming back this way. I feel like very similar in collaboration. Early on, collaboration is used. If you think about when you started your business, it was, and then you got to a little bit of size and you had some cash, so you started doing it the conventional way. It's like, ooh, we should maybe think about getting back to that because the
Yeah,
obstacle is the way, and collaboration is the way through it.
man, I think that's brilliant. Well, just at a zero is amazing because you took the time to look at your process,
Mm-hmm.
put it on pages. So everyone get Chad's book,
Ah,
especially you business owners. And I'm getting it for my kids because my boys are both like at that entrepreneurial age, and they're like, should I go into business? Should I go? You know, one of my sons wants to go to business school. The other one's
oh yeah.
a artist, and he's created a bunch of music. And so now
Mm-hmm.
he's working with other artists, learning how to promote the music. And he's like, "Did you know this, Dad? I could just post it on my social media." And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"Yeah, this is great. Go for it." And
Go
so,
for it.
um,
The
so
answer
I,
is yes. Should I start a business? The answer is
yes,
yes. Period. Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah. And
yeah,
there's no better time than right now today. Get started.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I love that. So I appreciate the work you do. I really appreciate and I think everyone probably noticed today that Chad's got a completely unique view on business. You're not going to listen to another interview and hear somebody repeat the same things that Chad said. So thanks for being an original human, a good
Yeah.
friend, and for all the great work you're doing. What's the best way for people to find you?
The best way, LinkedIn personally, and
Okay.
as well, chadtjenkins.com is another personal website. You mentioned the book. So Amazon, actually anywhere you get your books, it's accessible. And then the organization that I engage with other business owners to exponentially grow is the name of Seed Spark. So seedspark.com is the way that you can get in touch with those guys at any time.
Yeah. And I can tell you, Robert at Seed Spark, your COO, he does a
Yeah.
phenomenal job. And Chad's team is incredibly professional. You won't meet a more genuine human. Chad's, you'll notice when he engages in conversations, he is very formal. Mr. and Mrs. are common, or Miss.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. We thank
uh,
my parents for that for sure. It's
yeah,
it's just
it's
the way
great.
that you have to do it growing up in the South.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, Chad, thanks a lot for everything you're doing, and can't wait to catch up again soon.
Yeah, likewise, Reagan. I really appreciate the time today. I enjoyed the conversation.
Me too. Bye bye. And thanks, everybody. If you like this episode, make sure you share this with your friends, family, and loved ones, and leave us a 5-star review. That helps more people find us.